Joining me now, Armed Services Committee member, Commerce Committee member, Judiciary Committee member, and Veterans Affairs Committee member, Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. She wears a lot of hats. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Cheryl. Thank you.
Good to see you. What did you make of Mike Pompeo's comments about Afghanistan?
Well, Secretary Pompeo is right on the spot on this, and we're very concerned about how China is going to move forward in Afghanistan. And one of the things we do know is this: President Trump had a plan for how he would come out of Afghanistan. And what you have with President Biden is, let's get out of there and we'll figure out the rest of it later. There's a big difference in the approach to that. Now, also, I think it's significant, and we have to remember what China would like with Afghanistan is that land route into Iran. And this puts them straight into Tehran. And if you look at Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, that is your new axis of evil.
And you're worried, obviously, there's a lot of concern about them just walking into Afghanistan. You also had the fact that the Bagram Air Base was just abandoned, frankly, overnight by the Biden administration. Yeah. And what happened?
Which is so upsetting, you know, to let Bartiromo go when we still need to be bringing out these translators and those that worked with our military, and to give up that air base. That was something that we felt would be there with us through the end of the withdrawal, and for that to happen overnight was really concerning.
It was upsetting. Now, I want to move on to President Trump suing tech giants Facebook, Google, and Twitter for banning him from their platforms earlier in the year. He talked to Maria about the class action lawsuit. I want to get your reaction on what he said.
230, it's called, and that gives them immunity, that gives them protection. But once they have that, they no longer have that kind of a power where you can't go after. This is a private company. Well, now they're not private companies. They're getting the biggest subsidy, and you can call it that. They're immune from so many different things, but they're not immune from this lawsuit, because what they've done is such a violation of the Constitution, a violation like we've never seen before.
Senator, Section 230, is there any chance of bipartisan support to get rid of Section 230? Is there any movement on this?
Cheryl, there is bipartisan support for some reforms, and those need to be done. This is an issue that I have worked on for the last 3 years, is the reforms and the changes in the language of Section 230 so that these big tech companies cannot hide behind that and censor information, or if they're a retail site, have counterfeit or fraudulent or illicit products on their website. So I'm very pleased that President Trump moved forward with this. I do think it is helpful in helping move the Senate toward bipartisan agreement on how we restructure Section 230 and who is going to be able to utilize Section 230, what size entity, because we want to see a competitive online virtual marketplace. And what you have happening with the Biden administration right now would make it even less competitive. So kudos to President Trump for stepping up and doing this.
And someone you know well is with me this morning. Former Congressman Sean Duffy is here. Sean, jump into this.
Yeah, good morning, Marsha. Just a quick question. So we look at Section 230. If we reform 230, does that actually get us to the end result of freedom of speech online? Or if Marsha had the pen, what do we actually need to do to breed more free speech on these public platforms across the country?
Sean, there is, I call it the virtual you protection agenda, so that you're empowering the consumer. The very first thing you need to do is something when you were in the House, you and I worked on, which is online privacy legislation that gives the consumer the right to withhold their information from the big tech platforms. There also needs to be data security. There needs to be a removal of the nebulous language from Section 230 and be specific about what it can be used for. If this is something that is going to incite terrorism or incite violence or cause personal harm, then you have to put that specificity into law, because with the nebulous language, what big tech has done is just continue to alter and interpret the meaning of Section 230 to suit their purposes. The other thing we have to keep in mind is that Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and the other tech oligarchs did not write the First Amendment. And it is not up to them to either interpret it or to define it. We have the First Amendment right there for a reason. And it is not up to them to say, well, we think it's going to mean this week or in this instance. It is firm, it is solid, and they cannot change the meaning of it for their purpose.
And that First Amendment is a big issue, and Section 230 in this class action lawsuit filed by the former president. And there's a lot of folks out there now saying that this case could have legs. So we were saying, if Marcia had the pen, though, that is the line, I think, of the morning from the show. If Marcia had the pen.
That's exactly right. I know exactly what I would do.
I love it. I love it. Senator, it's so great to see you. Thank you, as always, for being here.
You, Cheryl.
All right.
Bye-bye.